Grey's Anatomy and the controversial issues it brought into the operating room 1 hour. If you've watched Grey's Anatomy for any length of time, you already know something about the show. It doesn't just tell medical stories, it tells cultural stories. Stories about politics, race, gun violence, immigration, sexual identity, women's healthcare, abortion laws, police brutality, and the healthcare system itself. Depending on who you ask, that's either exactly what makes the show powerful, or exactly what makes people say, "Can we just get back to the surgeries?" Over its long run, Grey's Anatomy has repeatedly stepped directly into controversial territory. Sometimes it felt honest and powerful. Sometimes it felt like a public service announcement disguised as a hospital scene. And sometimes it set off entire internet debates. Today we're going to look at the biggest controversial issues the show has tackled and ask an interesting question. Did Grey's Anatomy change television storytelling? Or did it cross the line into preaching to its audience? 1. Grey's Anatomy was always political. Even in the beginning, many fans believed the show only became political in recent seasons. But the truth is that Grey's Anatomy has always had a point of view. When the show premiered in 2005, creator Shonda Rhimes wanted something different from traditional medical dramas. She wanted diverse casting, complicated female leads, real-world conversations, and ethical dilemmas doctors actually face. Characters like Miranda Bailey and Richard Webber often represented the ethical backbone of the hospital. Even in the early seasons, the message was clear: medicine doesn't exist outside society. It reflects it. 2. Race and bias in healthcare. One of the most consistent controversial themes in Grey's Anatomy has been race. The show has explored how racial bias can influence medical care. Storylines addressed implicit bias in diagnosis, disparities in treatment, and mistrust between minority patients and doctors. Characters like Maggie Pierce and Miranda Bailey frequently became the voice of those conversations. Some viewers praised the show for raising awareness. Others felt the dialogue sometimes turned into lectures. But either way, the show forced audiences to confront uncomfortable realities in healthcare. 3. Police violence and social justice. In more recent seasons, the show addressed systemic injustice and policing. Episodes referenced the broader national conversation happening across the United States. Doctors treated injured protesters, and hospital staff debated racism within institutions. Some viewers felt these episodes were powerful and necessary. Others felt the show was becoming too overtly political. But again, Grey's Anatomy chose to reflect the cultural moment. 4. Gun violence-fused storylines were more shocking than the hospital shooting episode. A grieving husband enters the hospital seeking revenge. Characters like Derek Shepherd and Christina Yang are forced into terrifying situations. The episode explored the emotional aftermath of violence, trauma, fear, and the psychological toll on healthcare workers. It became one of the most intense and memorable episodes in the series. 5. Women's health, abortion laws, and the changing medical landscape. Women's healthcare has been one of the most controversial subjects the show has explored. The series has addressed issues like reproductive rights, maternal mortality, contraception access, pregnancy complications, and abortion. One of the earliest controversial storylines involved Christina Yang deciding to terminate a pregnancy. What made that storyline notable wasn't just the topic, it was the way the show portrayed it. Her decision was presented as a personal medical choice. After the Supreme Court decision in 2022 that overturned Roe v. Wade, many states were allowed to restrict or outlaw abortion. Grey's Anatomy responded by exploring what this meant for doctors and patients. Some episodes depicted patients traveling long distances for care. Others showed doctors wrestling with new legal risks tied to medical decisions. The show also highlighted broader women's health issues, such as dangerous pregnancy complications, limited access to prenatal care, and the United States' high maternal mortality rate. Supporters said the show reflected real challenges doctors face. Critics argued it leaned too heavily into political messaging. But the debate itself showed how deeply the issue affects healthcare. 6. Immigration and healthcare access. Another controversial topic the show explored is immigration. Episodes featured undocumented patients afraid to seek medical treatment. Doctors face difficult decisions: follow hospital policy or protect the patient. These storylines explored the ethical conflict between medical care and immigration law. 7. LGBTQ representation. Grey's Anatomy also became known for LGBTQ representation. Characters like Callie Torres and Arizona Robbins were central to the series. Their relationship was treated with the same complexity and emotional depth as any other romance on the show. For many viewers, that representation was groundbreaking, though it also sparked debate among audiences. 8. The pandemic season. When COVID changed the world, the show responded with an entire season focused on the pandemic. Doctors struggled with overwhelmed hospitals. Patients died without family present. Characters debated misinformation and public health policy. Some viewers appreciated the realism. Others felt it was too close to real life. 9. When social commentary becomes too heavy. One criticism that grew louder in later seasons was the increase in long speeches. Earlier seasons often showed social issues through patient cases. Later seasons sometimes explained them directly. For some viewers, that felt powerful. For others, it felt less like storytelling and more like a lecture. 10. Why Grey's Anatomy keeps doing it. The reason the show continues tackling controversial issues is simple. Medicine itself sits at the intersection of healthcare policy, insurance systems, ethics, social inequality, and public health. Doctors encounter society's biggest problems every day, and Grey's Anatomy tries to reflect that. Closing thoughts. After more than 2 decades on television, Grey's Anatomy remains one of the most influential medical dramas ever created. Not just because of the surgeries, not just because of the romances, but because it repeatedly brings real-world issues into the hospital. Sometimes that sparks powerful storytelling. Sometimes it sparks controversy. But it always keeps audiences talking.